Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Trekyards. I'm Captain Foley.
I am Connor Coggins. Welcome back.
That's right. And today we are doing our spoiler-filled review of Episode 2 of Season 2 of Lower Decks, Kayshawn, His Eyes Open. Be sure to join us tonight live at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for our full review and breakdown of every scene, every Easter egg, every cool thing in this episode.
And speaking of such fun breakdowns, during the week, as you guys know, we release smaller edited videos throughout, normally daily if there's that much content. We did for Episode 1. You guys loved them, so tune in back, normal time, to see what we come up with. And yes, there'll be ships and Easter eggs and references and all the things. And Stuart's seen the folder of the things we'll talk about. There's some fun stuff for sure, so tune in all week.
Yeah, make sure you're subscribed, obviously. Click the like button, click the notification bell icon. You know the routine. I usually say that at the end. I'm saying it at the beginning this time, so do that. What were your thoughts on this episode?
Yes, I liked it. I liked it better than the first episode. I wasn't in love with it, because I think, like last episode, it missed something extra sparky of amazing that season 1 had, like some element of oh my god, but I did like it better. I was kind of vaguely annoyed that they threw that much cool stuff into the one episode. It would have been nicer as multiple, because they're such good concepts. They could have been full episodes, and so by packing them in one, while they all felt reasonably full-ish, we didn't get enough Titan and we didn't get enough museum, so it was kind of an odd choice, and it makes me wonder where we're going to go in the season if they kind of threw all that already in the one episode.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Well, the good thing is, we don't have to worry about Boimler not being on the Titan. I mean, I
Still on
love
the
the way
Titan.
I love the way they handled that. That was actually kind of cool. So
Yeah, what a plot twist. So what do you think, Stuart?
I'm the same way. I enjoyed this much more than episode 1. I like the way that it was kind of evenly proportioned between the two stories. We kind of expected it to lead off with the Titan, and it didn't. But that's fine. It's Lower Decks. It's about the Lower Decks characters, so there's no problem with that. However, yeah, the references were aplenty. So many. And yeah, I'm looking forward to talking about all those and revealing those to you guys and just sharing our thoughts on those. Plus, we get to see more of the Titan. We get to see the inside of the Titan, which was a really cool thing. So there was a lot in this episode that I really enjoyed. Riker was almost 100% on point. There's one or two things that were kind of annoying to me. But other than that, I thought it was pretty great. And damn those sonic showers and their automatic sensor bars. Because sonic waves.
I mean, that's, you know, if that's literal, that's a very useful thing to have.
I know. Well, what takes the fun out of showering with your significant other, though, I gotta say.
Well, I mean, you know, computer safety protocols. I mean, you would think they couldn't turn up that high if it was dangerous, because safety protocols. So, but I'm sure Marina's done something weird. She likes hacking and, as in, like making stuff her own, etc. Well, just to jump back briefly, you know, you said about the Titan interiors, which were lovely. I found myself almost liking those scenes the most, because whereas Lower Decks is this kind of, it's obviously 100% canon, but it is this sort of sidestep of, well, do you take it seriously? Because, well, like you said, they have communal showers and they have a corridor with people. Slightly odd concepts in the grand scheme, but they're fine, just not something you'd expect. But every time we cut to the Titan, they treat it with the reverence they deserve. The set's the right proportion, the right colours, they're the right build, and they're actually adding to this grander canon, whereas you're never really going to think of the Sweeto sets as like, this is the standard Trek. But seeing the shuttle bay and seeing the briefing room, that's adding to the lore in a real way, it felt like. And I kind of wish, I mean, they gave us more than I thought, and I'm hoping two Boimlers means we'll actually have continuing threads. I don't see why we wouldn't. So I'm excited by that, but definitely I kind of like the real Trek feeling stuff more.
Yeah. We'll talk about the interiors of the Titan in a separate video for sure, but I did want to point out that seeing Riker's ready room was awesome, and seeing the few little trinkets he had, like the Civil War hat and the Oberth class, or probably the Pegasus model on his desk. Interesting little nuggets there, so I really appreciated that. So thank you, Mike McMahon and team.
Logical stuff. And, you know, it certainly builds this storyline. You know, Riker explicitly says he thinks there's someone pulling the strings, which is great. You know, a bigger bad within a bigger bad, and it's nice to have a grander thing coming, because it gives those scenes more depth, even though Riker was, you know, he should have been in it more, and honestly, he could have been swapped with any captain, and his lines would have fit, so it would have been nice if he was a few more character lines, but hopefully they're leading into it, hopefully. And it feels also like a character growth one, because Mariner obviously, like, her story is, we've sort of seen it before, the growing up storyline, it's just in a slightly different context. So it wasn't much new per se, it was just treading ground to make it more solid. but it was still good, but it wasn't new per se. I don't know how you felt about that, the rivalry with.
It was fine. I mean, she's obviously growing as a character and stuff because we do see her kind of realize that she's not the be-all and end-all, and I like that. Was he a lieutenant in the first season?
I see. I thought it was lieutenant, and so it was a bit confusing the way they framed that.
It was just a piece of corn. I love the explanation for that, as every time you see a wrong rank pip, it's like, good job, guys. That's for us. That's for people like us, you know.
I think that's got to be some sort of thing, because you remember the whole video that I noticed that Strax had a rank pip go on and off on his rank in one scene, and in three of the episodes of season 1. I feel like not many people would have commented on that, so they must have seen our video and been like, oops, and that joke is just for that. Because I've seen no one else comment on that ever. That was great. Stupid, but great. Those corn pips.
I want to talk about the collector ship and the whole, we thought it was a museum, but it's not. And hopefully we don't get hit by any weird rays when we start talking about this, because, you know, there could be some kind of safety protocol.
We're not here to steal, just here to talk.
That's
and
right.
And be positive.
But lots of great references there. Like, we're going to break this all down in our live review, obviously.
I've made a freaking graphic. You've probably seen it or a little allude to it. That took a while to build. So you guys,
I can imagine. I'm looking at it right now, and it's like, yeah. The one thing that's not on here is like the biggest thing at all of all, which was the weird infinite Vulcan from the animated series. Everybody was wondering what that was. Some people knew, some people didn't. So
yeah, I didn't see Vulcan either. I just thought, oh, it's a giant from alternate reality that's got a TOS shirt on. I'm like, okay, that's a weird thing to include.
It's the Spock from the Infinite Vulcan, which is the only episode of the animated series that's written by Walter Koenig, funny enough. He wasn't in the animated series, but one of the deals was that he got to write an episode for it. So there you go. That's actually Spock's skull that we see. So Leonard Nimoy's skull is now canon, I guess. It's like he's like a clone, essentially, but a giant clone. Yeah, it's...
Dear me.
Yeah.
That's morbid.
So there you go.
Yeah, it was... I would have been nice if there was a bit more of a... there were traps that were connected to the props, because obviously the props were just in cabinets, and apart from one that was the MacGuffin of the Kalis helmet, everything was just, you know, drawn background elements. Would have been nice if, you know, like the salt vampire was part of the the security system that came to life, and there was, you know, one of the robots from Voyager. You know, it would have been nice if that was a bit more, because as soon as they move past the room, there's, you know they're just quickly drawn elements, and the flying things were, you know, take them or leave them, you know. So it was fine. They didn't necessarily use it as much as they could have, but obviously it would have felt too much. But, or even just have holograms. You could have had holograms with blasters, and that would have been a nice way of having, you know, TOS Klingons walk around, or, you know, you could have done something more of that would have felt fine. It was fine, just it wasn't quite as full on as it could have been.
Well, speaking of security systems, like one of the nice references was the Dennis Nedry from Jurassic Park. That was just nice and subtle, but really, really well done.
Oh, and the painting was clearly a reference to the Ghostbusters 2 painting.
Vigo the Carpathian.
I think flashbacks there.
All right, so let's move into the next room and just talk about a few of the things we see. We're going to kind of list them out, and then... wait a minute, what is that that's happening?
Stuart, is my room normally purple? I don't. We've done like 3,000 episodes. I don't think it is normally purple.
No, this is not a great thing. No.
Stuart, did you take something?
Not me. Not me.
It's getting louder. It's getting worse. At what point does this get better for us?
Probably not. Foley and Cockings when they became puppets. Well, this is awkward.
Well, I hope not blinking isn't a problem for you, Stuart, because I don't think my eyes work like that anymore.
It's a very good point. Hi guys, this is really weird.
I mean, it's still us. Does your heart feel any different about this episode now if your heart is 14 times smaller and made of plush?
I do feel different. I do feel very full. I feel like I've been stuffed.
Stuff with references.
Ooh, perfect for the episode. Great. Yeah, speaking of, we should go through and just list a few. So for me, I love seeing the Wrath of Khan, or Khan's necklace. The game, obviously, from the game was great. And the Valiant pod from Where No Man Has Gone Before, like the old school TOS emergency beacon, I think it was fantastic. I noticed a Kadascot board at one point, Horda egg, something really simple, just a little sphere in a case. But you could tell by the color it was a Horda egg. And there's a bunch other ones. So
yeah, I mean, I was very careful to get every single frame of every single new angle for it, so there isn't much you couldn't see. But I quite liked the fact they got Odo's bucket, because that's pretty damn rare. One of one Odo's bucket. TOS red uniform, like Nichelle Nichols' one, because that again recanonizes TOS because it's blatantly TOS. Every time they do that, it's like, well, yes, but TOS is almost on the chopping block here in terms of fandom, so it's good to see.
And for me, obviously, like the Excalibur and Lincoln were neat, and tying in again the animated series with the Infinite Vulcan, the huge Spock was hilarious. There's a lot of good stuff here. There's other stuff that we haven't mentioned too, but I mean, you can see like there's a lot going on in the background, and it's worth watching multiple times.
Yeah, or just watching the Trekyards breakdown of it, because they don't have to. They're all there. But no, like I said, while it's fun, it just, why couldn't they have holographical guards that were multiple alien races, etc.? You can have something really fun with that. Or an army of clones of that guy wearing different uniforms that he likes, and they've got and they argue with each other because they each think that's a stupid costume, and it turns out he's got a split person. Yeah. Like I said, I think because they tried to spread out the story between these three things, or really 2.5, they didn't give any of them the depth they should have. Although I did quite like the absolute minimalism of the mum storyline, because her storyline was to not have a storyline. I thought that was great, actually, as a side note.
Yeah, the whole report from Starfleet about her micromanaging her crew was great. And then just, should you check on them? I think you could check on them. No, it's fine. I'm not going to micromanage my crew. I trust them. Keijon's a responsible officer. That was great. And then the next scene, he's like being held by Rutherford as they're running.
Oh, speaking of them, what do you think of the first Temerian in Starfleet? Our puppet in common,
Yes, our fellow puppet friend. I think it was great. They handled it really well. We kind of thought he was going to be like a one episode kind of thing. However, he is the new security guy, so I mean that's interesting.
But since they do die, there's no they do die in Trek, so he might have been season 2 one.
But the fact that he doesn't speak in just metaphors was great. I love how he's saying that he's having trouble with standard, and the few references like so and so on the ocean. Oh, you mean cooperation? Yeah, like stuff like that was really well handled, and I'm looking forward to seeing more of him. I do like this guy, so I mean I think they did a great job with it, and I'm glad it wasn't just a one episode kind of thing. So
yeah, I think underused is a good word. But he's a gimmick alien, and so that was a very good lead-in to try and develop that more, because it just like the Packlids, Mike McMahon was thinking to himself, how do I flesh out one of the hardest to flesh out things in Trek? Challenge accepted, So that's definitely a slow burn. And it's nice, even though, yes, they reuse a lot of the same phraseology in the Darmok episode, because those phrases that captain used were so simple and needed for base communication, they don't feel as forced by including them, because just cooperation and danger, those are basic phrases, and that was very apt considering.
Yeah, we got 3 new phrases from him at least when he first came on board, when he was being converted into the puppet and describing the pain, and then at the end with him hitting on the girl at the bar. So we are getting new Temerian references, which are great, and hopefully will find their way into the Star Trek lexicon and meme factory.
Yeah, and before we close out, although again we will talk about this on a separate video, final thoughts on the Boimler double Boimler twist, sort of going forward.
I kind of love it. The one thing I don't understand though is why they needed to demote him in rank to send him back to the Cerritos. He should have at least.
They didn't. They didn't need to.
I know they didn't, but I want an in-universe reason for why they did, because I think that was silly beyond silly. So not super happy with that, honestly. But I think it was handled well. I love that he's both on the Titan and the Cerritos. Gives me hope that there's going to be a lot more Titan stuff, or that the other Boimler is going to come and save the day. It kind of explains a few things that we saw in the trailers coming up for season 2. Like, I bet you the Boimler from the Titan is the one that gets assimilated if, in fact, he does get Borgified and it's not just a holodeck thing. I can see that being the thing and having to save him, or something happening to our Boimler and them needing, medical help from the other one. Like, there's a lot of possibilities now, and I love that.
Yeah, it's a window into the other place, and that's, the one into the series. Although I didn't quite buy that the other Boimler suddenly became different.
I didn't either.
Because there's no reason for that.
Yeah, Riker had years of being by himself, not being sure if he'd ever make it back or see Deanna again.
That was definitely weird, and William was a bit dumb as well. So that was... They kind of went off that cliff together of silliness, but I guess they have to sort of forcibly make them different, because in reality he'd be the same guy with the same drive. Maybe you've got a sense of confidence that he tricked himself to be on this ship, so I'm the true Boimler of cool because I tricked my other Boimler to be on this ship. But he's also a nice guy in general, and so...
The other thing that bugged me a little bit was Riker's crew being such dicks about, the Enterprise and, the orchestra thing. Like, yeah, it's Picard's ship. He would probably organize those kind of things. I'm sure Riker does too, though. Riker, I could see, having something like that as well.
Different ship, different time. That was pre-war, post-war. I think there's less, want for that stuff, and it's a smaller ship. Just different crews, different people. I won't judge them for not wanting to be in the orchestra.
I think it was kind of calling out JJ and Discovery, though.
Well,
I joined Starfleet for exploring, not for for adventure and getting shot at every week.
Yeah, it was a good speech, and it felt very. Yeah, it was a very well made point. But I won't judge the other officers because they had a change of heart in as well. They were so focused in a tactical mission. Oh wait, I want to. What the one line that made me genuinely laugh out loud was they all said why they want to be in Starfleet, and one guy says, "I just like getting beamed."
I like being beamed.
That's a great line.
I joined because I like Moss.
Being beamed is great. Wow. And he got through like a sector's worth of tryouts. And beat the 4 people in the trials to get to the academy. What commitment to being beamed? My God, that man. Wow.
Let's be fair. It could feel really good. It could be exhilarating each time. You're being reassembled. You're new.
Until Barclay and you see an alien thing trying to eat you each time. Yeah. But speaking of eating, guys, why don't you consume more Trekyards content? See what I did there? Tune in for our live tonight at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 10 p.m. GMT, and of course this week's videos breakdowns. We've teased it all today, but boy, with graphics and dedicated discussion, it'll be fun. And of course, hopefully by then we're back to our normal selves. Unless you prefer plushy us, then of course let us know in the comments below. We'll just keep getting transformed and. That's the problem having a fan base that sort of decides what we do. It's like, if you want us to be this for the rest of our lives, dear me. Let us know, guys.
What he's saying is hit like, guys. Make sure you subscribe, do all that stuff. And if you want to help us financially, you can do that as well by joining the lives and helping with super chats and things like that. Plus, we have a Patreon. All the routine. Check out the description down below. There's a whole bunch of cool ways to help us out and support the channel. So we keep making the content that you like in puppet form or not. Doesn't really matter.
Yes. So until then, tune in, watch more. We'll see you then. Until then, he's Captain Foley.
Sort of. I'm stuffy.
You're still a captain. That's
true.
Never going to change.
And he's Commander Cockings. Look, he has rank pips even. So, anyway, until next time, guys.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, guys.